Rise of the Planet of the Apes is a 2011 film directed by Rupert Wyatt and the writing team Rick Jaffa and Amanda Silver, and it is the reboot of the Planet of the Apes film series and its 7th installment overall, starring Andy Serkis as Caesar, James Franco, Freda Pinto, John Lithgow, Brian Cox, Tom Felton and David Oyelowo. Oyelowo. Is how you pronounce his name? I don't know. So the plot is that in San Francisco, pharmaceutical chemist Will Rodman tests the viral-based drug ALS 112 on chimpanzees at the biotechnology company Genesis in an attempt to find a cure for Alzheimer's disease. ALS 112 is given to a chimpanzee named Bright Eyes, greatly increasing her intelligence. However, during Will's presentation for the drug, Bright Eyes is forced from her cage, goes on a rampage, and is shot to death. Will's superior, Stephen Jacobs, terminates the project and has the chimpanzees euthanized. However, Will's assistant, Robert Franklin, reveals that the reason for Bright Eyes' rampage was that she had recently given birth. Will reluctantly takes in the infant chimpanzee, eventually naming him Caesar. Discovering that Caesar has inherited his mother's intelligence through being exposed to ALS 112, Will decide to raise him. 3 years pass, and Caesar becomes highly intelligent. He can communicate through sign line. So it's a notification. Will begins a romantic relationship with a primatologist, Caroline Aranaha. Will and Caroline introduce Caesar to the Redwood Forest at Moya Woods National Monument, so he can roam. Meanwhile, Will treats his father, Charles, with ALS 112, which seemed to restore his cognitive ability. 5 years later, Caesar, now entering adulthood, questions his origins and place in the world. Charles' conditions returns as his immune system becomes resistant to ALS 112. Caesar injures an aggressive neighbour, Douglas Hunsaker, while defending a confusing Charles. The local animal control service subsequently takes him to an ape shelter. Caesar is tormented by the alpha chimpanzee Rocket and the chief guard Dodge Landon. However, Caesar befriends Maurice, a former circus orangutan, who also knows sign language. Caesar learns to unlock his cage, gaining free access to the common area with the assistance of Buck, a gorilla. Caesar claims the position of Alpha. Meanwhile, Jacobs clears the development of a more powerful gaseous version of the drug ALS 113. When Will tells him it can improve intelligence, Will takes the drug home for his father, but Charles declines further treatment and dies overnight. After attempting to test the drug on a bonobo named Cobra, who is the main villain of Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, Franklin accidentally becomes exposed to ALS 113 and becomes ill. Despite the risks, Jacobs orders continued trials and Will consequently quits his position, attempting to warn Will at his home. Franklin sneezes blood onto Hunsaker and is there discovered dead. Will attempts to reclaim Caesar, but Caesar instead decides to stay and steals the Owl's 113 canisters from Will's house and enhances the intelligence of the other apes in the shelter when Dodge attempts to get him back into his cage. Caesar reveals he can speak. He fights and accidentally kills Dodge while freeing the apes. The apes flee, releasing Cobra and the remaining apes from Genesis, and freeing additional apes from the San Francisco Zoo. A battle ensues as the apes fight their way past a police blockade on the Golden Gate Bridge in an attempt to escape into the Redwood Forest. To rescue Caesar, Buck sacrificed himself to down a helicopter. Cobra pushes the helicopter with Jacob still inside into San Francisco Bay. As the apes find their way into the forest, Will finds and warns Caesar that the humans will hunt them and begging him to return home. Caesar hugs him and says he is home. Will accepts Caesar's wishes and the apes embrace the new lifestyle in the forest. Meanwhile, Hunsaker, now infected with Owl's 113, arrives at San Francisco International Airport for his flight. He eventually spreads the virus, simian flu, around the planet, leading to a deadly pandemic. And that's basically what the plot is. So I really love the Planet of the Apes films. I got into